Welcome back to the show, folks. I want to tell you about someone who is trying to get into the Biden administration that many of you probably haven't heard of for whatever reason. Maybe you have. I don't know. I hadn't heard about her until today when I was doing show prep. And what I found in my research on this individual is kind of shocking. Very concerning, to say the least. Her name is Vanita Gupta. And she is likely going to be Joe Biden's Associate Attorney General. She had her confirmation hearing yesterday. I don't know how many days it's going to go on for, but at least part of it was held yesterday before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Vanita Gupta. Now, in my research on this woman, because again, I hadn't heard about her. I didn't know anything about her. She strikes me as an anti-law enforcement liberal. She does. Now, in the hearing, and I'm going to play audio in just a minute here, she has to sound kind of centrist. She has to conduct herself in a way that isn't radical Democrat, leftist, but she is. And I'm going to prove that to you here. In the past, let me start with this. In the past, Vanita Gupta has voiced her support for ending qualified immunity for police officers. Now, for those of you who don't know, qualified immunity shields police officers from most lawsuits for alleged wrongdoing. Not all lawsuits, because I could hear the liberals right now, well, this whole thing, qualified immunity, just, protects officers and there's no accountability whatsoever. No, that's not true. It's not all lawsuits. This isn't saying that there's no accountability in the police force. It's simply saying that police officers are shielded from most lawsuits for alleged wrongdoing. Because otherwise, you could sue police officers for really anything. And instead of being out in the field serving their communities, police officers would constantly be tied up in court. So that's a brief background of qualified immunity. And in the past, Vanita Gupta has said that she supports ending it, meaning taking away these protections for police officers. Now, she was questioned about this at the hearing yesterday by Senator John Cornyn. And I want to play this audio. Listen to how she dances around the question, which really was pretty straightforward. The question was simply, do you now support ending qualified immunity for police officers? Straightforward question. She wouldn't answer it. Listen to this from yesterday.
Do you support the elimination of qualified immunity from for lawsuits against the police?
Senator, I suspect that you're referring to testimony that I gave before this committee over the summer when I was representing the consensus views of the Civil Rights Coalition.
Folks, wasn't it a straightforward question? He's not referencing anything in the past. He's asking right now, where you sit, do you support ending qualified immunity? But she starts her response by saying, Senator, I'm sure you're referencing this other time when X, Y, and Z. No, right now, do you support ending qualified immunity? What is it with liberals, ladies and gentlemen? Can't they follow a simple question? Keep listening.
At the leadership conference. In matters of policy, if I'm confirmed as Associate Attorney General, my guide, and I know this issue and many others around police accountability, the Senate's going to be considering in the Justice and Policing Act, we will follow the President's policy agenda so long as it's consistent with the law. I have been talking a lot to law enforcement the last several months about all kinds of issues around the tension of how to ensure accountability while ensuring that law enforcement can do their jobs. And if I am confirmed as Associate Attorney General, I will continue.
Now, let me stop. she talks like it's, well, it's a balancing act, right? We need 50-50 here. We need to figure out how police officers can still be held accountable while also at the same time making sure that they can do our jobs. If you had to guess, ladies and gentlemen, which side do you think this woman leans more towards? Holding police officers accountable or letting them do their jobs? Probably holding them accountable, right? Which, in many cases, infringes upon their ability to let them do their jobs. I'm just saying, just pointing that out. Keep listening.
You to leverage these relationships in law enforcement to understand their perspectives. And my commitment will solely be to the Constitution and federal law. Obviously, the doctrine of qualified immunity is a judicially
Notice she's not answering the question.
And applies to many more public sector employees than simply police officers. But that will be my commitment.
Well, I heard your answer, but I didn't hear you answer the specific question. Do you support the elimination of qualified immunity for lawsuits against government employees, including police officers?
Senator, from where I sit now, today, in my personal capacity,
yes.
I want to understand more the perspectives of law enforcement as well as the need. And I think we all recognize that I heard it really from every member of the committee when I testified this summer about the importance of ensuring that...
She's filibustering, folks. She's filibustering. It's such a simple question. Do you support it now, or don't you support it now? Do you want to end qualified immunity now? Yes or no? Well, Senator, I think that blah, 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 blah. No. Yes or no? Well, Senator, I think that it's actually, very complicated. I think that blah, blah, blah. Just answer the damn question. What the hell is the problem? She doesn't want to answer the question, folks, does she? Because the answer is yes. She believes in ending qualified immunity, taking away protections for police officers. She believes in it. Let's keep listening.
Communities have faith that there is accountability when individual law enforcement engages in misconduct. I hear it from law enforcement as well, and I would look forward to working with law enforcement, with members of this committee as you engage these really difficult and challenging questions that we're facing as a country right now about how to ensure accountability when misconduct happens and how to ensure that law enforcement have the support they need to do their jobs.
So you no longer support the elimination of qualified immunity?
Third time.
Is that your testimony?
Senator, as I said, I was testifying this summer representing the views of the coalition.
My question is, do you no longer support the elimination of qualified immunity?
I will say I don't come in supporting it, elimination one way or another. My duty, if confirmed as Associate Attorney General, will be to follow the president's lead on these kinds of policy issues, so long as they're consistent with the law, and to engaging and continuing to engage with civil rights leaders, community leaders, law enforcement on these very difficult questions of accountability.
Yeah, doesn't that sound like a woman who really has the police officers' backs? Doesn't that sound like a woman who really stands with law enforcement? Not at all. Somehow, ladies and gentlemen, I think that she still believes in ending qualified immunity, stripping protections from officers. I think many of you listening would arrive at the same conclusion. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about this woman. And again, I'm talking about this because this has kind of fallen under the radar a bit, and I'm sure many people don't know about this, who she is and what she stands for. But if she's going to be the Associate Attorney General, we the people need to know where she stands, right? Isn't that important? Let me tell you this. Vanita Gupta was also, I believe she still is, in fact, I know she still is, the president of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. She's the president and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. Now, out of morbid curiosity, I Googled the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. I went to their website. I read a little bit about it. Sure enough, it says right there on the About Us page, President CEO Vanita Gupta. And you know what I found, ladies and gentlemen? I found out that this organization really is a radical social justice organization. Oh, yes. Let me read you a few excerpts from their website. Fight for racial justice, one page says. The crisis of police. Listen to how they phrase this. This is from an organization run by who will likely become Joe Biden's Associate Attorney General. Listen to how they talk about law enforcement. And then you tell me if she stands with the police. End police brutality. The crisis of police killing black people has reached a new boiling point, they write. Don't want to stay silent? Call your senators and tell them to make it clear that police brutality and violence have no place in America. Well, it's true. It doesn't. No one wants a police force that is violent for no reason, that is racist. I just don't think that's the case. I never have, and I probably never will. Together, we must demand bold and sweeping action and break the cycle of violence towards black communities. Violence towards black communities. Violence towards black communities. I certainly hope they're not implying here that law enforcement is a violent threat to black communities. I hope not. Because that's absurd. These brave men and women in blue put their lives on the line every damn day to protect these communities. Our leaders must support real accountability measures to change policing culture and invest in black communities and others hardest hit by over-criminalization. Demand change now. She is the president of a radical left-wing organization, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if we go over to another page here, we can read where it talks about fighting against hate with a picture of someone protesting holding a resist sign. Now again, it sounds good, right? It's a great headline. Fighting against hate. Sounds good. No one likes hate. I hate hate. But listen to how they talk on their website. The No Ban Act is the first civil rights bill in history that explicitly protects Muslims by rejecting Trump and Stephen Miller's xenophobia and white nationalism. The House passed the No Ban Act to help ensure that no president can enact any kind of sweeping and discriminatory ban. Now tell the Senate to pass the No Ban Act immediately and stop this administration. This has obviously not been updated in a little while. Stop this administration's anti-Muslim bigotry. No president should be able to ban people from our country based on national origin or religion. All families must be able to live freely together. Tell Congress to pass the No Ban Act now. So, calling Trump xenophobic, white nationalist, doesn't exactly scream level-headedness or, moderate politics. And then lastly, I'll just read one more, because I thought this was interesting. Again, from this woman's website, Vanita Gupta, who's going to be in the Biden administration. Our children deserve safe schools. This really gets to the heart of how she and her organization feel about cops. As the nation wrestles with how to ensure the health and safety of children in schools, one thing is not the answer: the police. Studies have shown police in schools cause harm to black, Native, Latino, LGBTQ students, girls, and students with disabilities. I don't know what study they're citing there. Something tells me it's pretty skewed. It also leads to higher rates of arrest among students. What children need instead are counselors and nurses. And then it goes on. But that's the gist of it. So, anti-cop. Anti-law enforcement. Look, I'm not saying that schools don't need counselors and nurses. They absolutely 100% do. Social workers, all the rest. But why can't we have those in addition to police officers? I just point this out, folks, because I thought it was very interesting to dive into who this woman is. She is president and CEO of a radical social justice leftist organization. And she's likely going to become Joe Biden's associate attorney general. Oh, and at one point, too, she... I was going to bring this up, get more in depth into it, but I don't have much time. I believe it was in 2012. She's also written about decriminalizing hard drugs. Hard drugs. I'm not talking about a little pot. I'm talking about heroin, cocaine, meth, and so on and so forth. She's written about decriminalizing them. She was actually asked about it in the hearing yesterday, and of course she said, well, those aren't my views anymore. I don't believe in that. But that's another red flag to me, and it should be to you as well. So I don't know, folks. I have a bad feeling about this. I think that Joe Biden's Justice Department is going to do more harm than good over the next 4 years. I think they're going to divide us even further among racial lines. And it's all going to be because of policies like this. Policies that don't back the police, don't give them the support they need, but rather make it more difficult for the cops to do their jobs. Like ending qualified immunity. Mark my words, she's going to do it, and much more. I'll be right back.